The space that we're sitting in right now is an archive of the Abstract Land and Filing Company, and it is a non-traditional approach to that kind of an archive. It's not really concerned with linear history. It's more concerned with uh, materiality and the way that that transmits history in a kind of more poetic way. So things that are next to each other are supposed to be working in tandem to create some sort of rhyming and creation of new meaning. Um, it's I'm really interested in this territory of fiction and what photography. Most photography we think of as being a sort of document, as something that's this photograph is of this person at this place. And I'm really interested in that tension, right? So then we're taking that work and then putting it into something, that is like a book. This is a book that I made a few years ago that sort of introduces the idea of this small rural town called Hoy's Fork. And while I was making that work, there's a photograph in here of a courthouse in Hoy's Fork. And while I was making it, it burned to the ground. And the bricks over here are from the rubble of that. I was able to go over and take a few shovel loads, and the town name is like stamped in the frog of the brick there, that little indentation on the brick. So the town of Hoy's Fork is there. And I got really interested in that courthouse, and there's a painting or a photograph of a painting over here that's red, and there's a hand kind of sneaking in from the side with a towel. So I made that photograph of Bubba's painting, and the courthouse is sort of visible there in the background. But Bubba was making that painting from his memory of watching the courthouse burn. And eventually, the Hoy's Fork Town Council issued a request for proposals from companies to essentially replace the physical archive inside the courthouse. So all of the information that's there stored about the legal history of the town, and it had to be organized in some way. So the Abstract Land and Filing Company is a company that specializes in that, or those organizational tools. There are pictures around here on the wall from like the company's history, some of the products that they're making to help governments and universities and companies organize their information. So you're looking at the great grandparents of big data, basically. And so I asked the Abstract Land and Filing Company management if I could come in and photograph the process of the manufacturing of this courthouse or archive, and they agreed. And in exchange, I would let them use some of the images that I'm making in the factory in their annual report. And but the photographs that interest me most were the ones that exhibit some kind of play. The photograph over here on the wall is of a guy that sort of seems to be taking communion from a machine. That's not something that he would do normally, but when you hang out with somebody who's working for 3 hours and you build up a rapport and you start joking and creating these moments that are less about their job and more about something else, I felt that those were the images that were really resonating with me, but they were also less interesting or useful to the company management. And around that time, I was also, working with people that were putting these boards into the machines. So each one of these boards is a die. And each one looks like a different kind of archiving material. So like it stamps into paper, and then what pops out of the machine on the other end is a folder or an accordion that you might see in like a special collections or in a doctor's office that hasn't gone fully digital. And I love the boards because they contain all this history. A lot of them have fingerprints on them. And then there's also like scrawling, and there's graffiti, there's curse words. And the more I was hanging out with these people using these boards, I started to realize that they were actually organizing as a as employees to create a co-op and force a takeover of the company, of the Abstract Land and Filing Company. So when that happened, the sort of management history, or the control that the management wanted to maintain over the history of the company, was sort of relinquished. And I was able to walk into these weird rooms that have like postcards from the family vacation somehow in them, right next to images that were of their old land surveying portion of their company history. So a lot of the black and white landscapes are from surveys. They documented the process of surveys, and there's a lot of negatives in this room. And it was all unorganized, which I love. There's a lot of discussion about this. Like the difference between telling a linear story and something that's more fractured. And so the co-op was way more open to my sort of nonlinear or fractured approach to creating this archive. So also working with the co-op, we, and whenever we install a version of the company history, of the company archive, the company also does local research. So the area that's in between the walls, the three walls over there, contains some prompts for local research on George Mason. And specifically, we discovered these photographs that were from a 2008 gathering called a Founders Circle, where the university president at the time, Alan Merton, is sort of seated right next to Charles Koch and a bunch of other oligarchs that all are interested in sort of manufacturing social change in the United States, and doing that through the mechanisms of the university. And so there was a bunch of the star academics from the law school and from the economics program sort of mingling with these oligarchs, and they were kind of coming up with, is also about fundraising, but they were also talking about their plans. And then that spiraled out into a much larger bit of research that I don't really have time to get into it at this moment, but I will say that one of the photographs over there on the walls of this guy named Paul Atkins, and he's currently the Trump nominee for the Securities and Exchange Commission. And he also presided over that same position from 2002 to 2008. And that organization is basically a government organization that is supposed to protect consumers from basically banks running amok, as they did, which resulted in the 2008 financial crisis. So this person is now back in charge of that, and it's just wild that we found this photograph of him at this dinner in 2008.